let's look at rounding to different significant figures. So if we had 5,272, so we want to round this to different significant figures. So I'll show you what I mean. So if we just firstly label what we have for the place values, so we can see here we have 5 there for the thousands, we have 2 there for the hundreds, we have 7 for the tens, and we have 2 for the ones. So let's say we want to round this to one significant figure. What you do is you look at the most significant figure. So the most significant figure in this number is going to be the 5, the value for the thousands. Okay, that is the most significant. So we can see here in the place values, the most significant figures is going to be whatever we have for the thousands. Okay, so this means we want to round this number to the nearest thousand. So we're going to round 5,272 to the nearest thousand. So if we do that, so if we draw our partition here, so we have our partition line and the number after the partition is less than 5. So this is quite similar to rounded decimals. So because it's less than 5, on the number line, the lower value will just be 5,000. Okay, so to one significant figure is going to be 5,000. Okay, now if you round this to two significant figures, so two significant figures, we look at the next significant figure, so the hundreds, which is the second most significant. So because the hundreds is the second most significant, we want to round this to the nearest hundred. So if we draw our partition, the number after the partition is going to be 7, which is more than 5. So that means we have to increase that 2 by 1. So we add 1 to the 2. So we end up with 5,300. Okay, so this number to two significant figures is 5,300. So to three significant figures, so we want to look at the third most significant figure, which is going to be the tens. Okay, so that is the third most significant. So we draw our partition. We can see the number after the 7 is 2. So we keep the 7 as it is. So we have 5,270. So you can also round this using number lines. Okay, so that is how you round to different significant figures. Now, if we want to round this to 4 significant figures, it will just be the same number again. It would just be 5,272 because we already have 4 significant figures. There's no other figures. Okay, so we only have these ones, so we just put those down. So to 4 significant figures, there's 4 figures, so it's just the same thing. Okay, so let's look at one more example. So let's say if we had 0.624. So whenever you're rounding to different significant figures, you always label the place values first. So we can see here we have 6 for the 1/10ths, we have 2 for the 100ths, we have 4 for the 1,000ths. So to one significant figure, okay, the most significant figure is going to be the 1/10ths. Okay, so we want to round this to the nearest 1/10th. So rounding to the nearest 1/10th is the same thing as rounding this to one decimal place. Okay, so you just draw your partition line. The number after the partition is less than 5, so you keep this number as it is, so it will just be 0.6. Two significant figures. Okay, the second most significant is the value for the 100ths. So we can see it's 2 there, so if we draw our partition, the number after the partition is 4, so that's less than 5, so we keep the 2 as it is. Okay, so this would just be 0.62. Okay, so rounding that to two significant figures, The second most significant is the 100th, so we round this to the nearest 100th, which is the same thing as rounding to 2 decimal places. So 3 significant figures, it would just be 0.624 because we already have 3 figures, okay, 3 non-zero figures. So this figure here, the value for the ones is 0, so that is not going to come into this. So let's say that wasn't 0. If it was, say, 2, that would be for the ones. So that means the ones then would be the most significant. Okay? So that is how you round to significant figures. And that is the end of the video.